Thank you very much indeed. Thank
you.
So item 11, the Waikura Linwood-Central-Heathcote Community Board report for June 2019. Chair of the Community Board, Sally Buck, welcome to the table. Good to have you with us this morning. And looking forward to hearing your report to Council.
Thank you. We've got no Part A's today for a change. And we made lots of decisions under delegation. The Wollaston Ave one was changes to the mobility parking down there near the boat sheds. And we did approval of lots of contributory funding from the board's youth development fund for youth to date. So to date we've helped fund a whole lot of places where people are going to: World Snooker Championships in China, Australian International. How do you say that word?
No idea.
How do you say this word? I should have researched that before I started here. Oriachus.
I don't even know what it is.
What was it again? I looked it up at the time, and now I'm thinking, what is it exactly?
It's all right, I'm only having you on.
Someone like to Google it for a minute. No, it's not environmental.
Don't worry, I was only having you on.
Google.
Look up Google.
A dance competition, Body Rock in San Diego, and week training in Los Angeles. Summer Air in Shanghai Youth Summer Music Camp. Little League Asia Pacific qualifier in Indonesia. Senior Korf, have we got to the second one? Yeah. Senior Korfball World Cup in South Africa. And under 15, under 17 netball in New Zealand competitions, and New Zealand National Youth Futsal championships. It's like a football, isn't it? We're on to the next one. Discretionary response fund is some of the things we spent it on. With the Otatahi Sports Association, which is a huge big association, and we helped them make a car park next to the Bauer pub in Bauer Ave. We've also earmarked some for one of our big projects, which is Greening the East. And we also gave some to the Richmond Community Garden Trust for the Matariki in the Zone event, which I think Papanui Innes may have talked about as well, because it borders on both our community boards. And an expansion of community development hours there. And yesterday, this is a very strong group out there now with the people running Avebury House and the Richmond Community Garden Trust. And if you're ever down there, it's just expanding like mad. Yesterday they held a launch event for Revolution, a project which will set up a coffee shop on site there in a container. So that was fun. And we also approved the future use of the Barbados Street Cemetery Sexton's House as a residential dwelling or for community use to be leased out once restored to residential tenancy standards. It actually has no money attached to this, so they'll probably be going to the long-term plan next time for money for that. We also approved the Lower Heathcote Dredging Stage 2 landscape plan and 7 tree removals down there. I mean, this is a huge project in stages which have come to, we're looking at each stage, and the landscape plan is a very welcome addition, considering we've been waiting for it for a long time, to come back to us with to improve the riverbanks around there. We also approved the formation of the board's Opawa Hota Ihutai, which is the Lower Heathcote Catchment Project working party. So we want to have a working party on that, and so we end up with a really good plan for the whole Lower Heathcote there. Next one. And significant council projects in the board area. We will consider applications to the 2019-20 Strengthening Communities Fund on the 5th of August. and of the 62 applications received, the board has already approved multi-year funded grants to 3 organisations from 1718 to 1920. A board workshop is scheduled for 22nd of July to assist the board in its initial deliberations and ahead of the decision-making meeting. Significant community issues, events and projects in the board area. We had a public forum. We have public forums every time, and Mr. Dominic McEwen presented to the board his concerns on the Worcester Street cycleway route, and we've had staff look at that. Progress report. Oh, have we got one before that? Oh,
No, we don't.
Okay.
It shouldn't be there.
Yeah, and I think in your, the board approved the community plan for 2017 to 19 on the 16th of October 2017. There's a mistake, I think, in your copy of our report where it says that we approved the coastal Burwood plan. And I think it had been changed before it went to print. Our staff tried to change this, but I think it still went through on your copy. The board's ongoing decisions are being included as measures against the outcomes and priorities contained in the 17-19 Community Board Plan. And in early August, our staff will be reporting to the board on board plan achievements. And we had a meeting with New Zealand Police Metro Superintendent to discuss the transitional plans for the return of business as usual post 15th of March attacks within our area, within the Muslim centre in our area. And we also discussed a lot of other issues that we have, and police issues that we have in our area. It's ongoing, especially around Linwood Village and Linwood Mall, ongoing issues. Thank you very much. Are there any questions?
Great, Sally, thank you. Are there any questions for Sally? Glenn?
Thank you, Sally. Just with that discussion with police, did the matter of police cameras come up at all? Both for the inner city
I think we did
and
raise.
inner city east?
I think we raised the issue because we know for a fact that one of the highest priorities for a police camera is at Linwood Mall in our area. So we did, and Eastgate Mall is the name of it. And we also had a discussion about how the community are unable to fund cameras now.
Next question over funding, whether that was discussed, and it was by the sound of it.
We didn't discuss the funding of that camera. I think it'll
Okay.
just come up at our next, when we're looking possibly. I don't think we're allowed to fund it now from what, we're not allowed to fund it, so but it has to be police who fund it, I think. Is that right? Yeah.
Probably not the technical staff who, we probably need to ask the right staff that
Okay.
question. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. I've got Phil and then Sarah. Phil?
Thanks, Sally. You referred to the lower Heathcote dredging happening, and I just wondered if you've got any suggestions or requests as to how, in fact, we get that more integrated into the whole biodiversity and as well as the land the drainage part of the river.
Well, as you know, it's one of our major projects. You know, it's the Lower Heathcote Catchment Plan, or Opawaho to Ihutai Plan, as we call it, and Greening the East are our two major projects. So I am constantly, and the board will constantly bring this to staff. Look, where are we up to? How are we going to progress it? And having a working party is one way to progress this, because we want to end up with a plan like you've got for Mid Heathcote in that area. So that's our aim. So that, and there's a lot of community groups involved along there, and they've got some very good ideas. What's your next?
So the aim will be to tie a lot of that together. So in fact, it proceeds taking account of both the
most of
weed
those
growth
groups are involved in biodiversity and environment. So I mean, it has to happen that way anyway.
Thanks, Sally.
Thank you. Sarah?
Just to respond to Glenn's question, actually, over a number of years, the police have had some concerns about communities being able to purchase. The community individual people have never been able to purchase cameras for the police to use, because there's been a concern that it would create inequitable outcomes where richer communities would pay for cameras for the police to monitor them when poorer communities couldn't do that. In the past, councils, community boards have been able to do some of that, and our board has put one, paid for a couple in different areas.
We paid for two, Sarah.
Two in the last couple of years, in areas that have had some issues. One of those being with in St Albans with the prostitutes and things, and but that is no longer possible, and the police have a new network of sort of 40 odd cameras that are going up, groups of cameras that are going up around the city that are movable and things, to keep it fair and equitable across the city. So that's, there's a report coming to our next board meeting on it. So
All right,
we wish that we'd known that information much earlier in the process, but we didn't.
Thank you. That leaves us out of time for further questions, unfortunately. But Sally, thank you very much indeed for the work that you're doing, and thank you for being here with us this morning. Much appreciated. Thank you. So we've got a recommendation to receive the report. Do I have a mover for that? Yanni, seconded Dion. And Yanni, you'd like to speak to this? Yep, sure.
Just very quickly, I just want to pick up on the point that was made around the Heathcote-Apawaho River. There's a real need to get on top of a plan and an integrated catchment plan. The council at our annual plan did pass a resolution that the boards would be advised around the process for that integrated catchment plan. You also recall that we were told as councillors we've only got a short period of time, 18 months, to get it complete. So if we want community engagement and input, it's actually critical we start getting that underway ASAP. There is an issue that's come up with the dredging and the landscaping, which is to do with the impact on the weeds in the river that the Apawaho Heathcote River Network has identified through one of our ecologists. And there is some urgency because the dredging work has actually started, but we don't have any plan in place to address the weeds, which is quite critical. So just a heads up to my colleagues, this is really, really critical if we want the community to be involved, and we want to get a holistic plan in place before we spend the capital money that's been spent. That money's already been spent as we speak today, and we still don't have an integrated plan in place. So it's quite urgent.
Thank you. So I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye.